Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Reverend Cozy Snap. Cozy, first of all, congratulations on successfully bewetting two close friends. That must have been a wonderful experience. But what was also a wonderful experience was wading through the comments section after last week's video because Cozy, there was something that kind of came up that was funny, and Mitch Smokes does mention it here and says, Cozy not knowing that Adam Warlock is in Guardians 3 is about to flood the comments. And sure enough, Cozy, that did flood the comments. Apparently, we missed out on the fact that Adam Warlock is a core component of Guardians 3, which
Yeah,
I
like
haven't even seen yet.
oh, you haven't even seen it. Okay, yeah, no, I immediately commented back to that. Like, I just deleted it from my brain. I just straight up like a whole movie, that was right. That came out right when my son was born, and bro, I must have watched that off of just zero brain cells, like just nothing registered from that movie. But yes, as soon as I saw your episode release, I was listening to it as I was driving somewhere. I was like, oh damn. But yeah, Adam Warlock and Snap, Adam Warlock in the movies, I just delete him from the brain. You know, he's gone.
Very forgettable.
Very forgettable. He's coming out in Rivals. Hopefully he's decent in that.
I haven't seen Guardians 3 yet. It's on my list of things to do because I've been trying to catch up. Apparently, there's a lot of Jim Carrey discussion and stuff. There's a lot of movies I got to catch up on, but Guardians 3 is definitely one. I'm hearing it's actually fantastic, so I'm looking forward to getting a chance there. But that takes us into our primary topics of the day today, one of which being the rankings of Gilgamesh and Thena. Now, these are two very different cards, and getting an opportunity to play them over the past week and over drops and everything has given me some perspective on these two cards. We're going to start with Gilgamesh, okay? Gilgamesh, the season pass card, and as we always discuss, season pass cards, they carry a little bit of weight because in terms of like the investment you spend in Snap, that $10 US is pretty well spent in the season pass. You do get quite a bit back for your expenditure, but you'd like these season pass cards to be good, at least fair. Maybe not Loki broken on release 3.5 Loki, whatever the hell it was. Blink was on the upper echelon of perhaps impactful, whereas you have Black Swan on the absolute invisible side. So Cozy, I'm gonna ask you, where does Gilgamesh land for you?
Oh, it was my gosh. Yeah, you know what's funny? If you go back and listen to last week's episode, like every single card we talked like ourselves in and out of like a couple of times. Gilgamesh, what was the rankings we gave?
So you were really weird. You were like, you started close to like 2.5, and then you drifted to like 3.5, and then you're like, nah, I think it's 3. You were all over the place, but clearly not comfortable, more or less on the lower end.
Which is kind of where I like it kind of sums up my thoughts on the card. Like it was like maybe, but no. Like for me, I land at it's a card that does a thing, but it isn't a thing you need, right? Like you put people are like play him in Ultron decks. Like you don't care. You don't need to play him in Ultron. The thing is that Blue Marvel, like it would almost like if he somehow, I don't know how you balance this, but like he got power points equal to the power points given to cards, then he's way better, right? Because Blue Marvel, all you have to do is play him and he does all you need. Everything's buffed up. He gets up to like a 14 power tops, or whatever, and then you're happy. It's just awkward because like your whole game plan you do before that, it's almost unnecessary. Then you're like making the deck work for it. He's just a very unneeded. He does things. He can do things, but he's just unneeded, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Now, let's be honest. I came in at 4 stars on my approximation on the early release, and that's definitely wrong. He's definitely not a 4-star card. But I would say he's probably closer to a 3, honestly, because he still puts up power. Like I don't think he's in the 2 range. Like 2 range is kind of poo poo, no?
Because you don't do 2.5 or halves. Yeah, I give him a 2.5 with the potential to go up to like 3.5 or whatever. Like we got to see the other cards come out. Dude, this card's gonna get reworked, or not reworked, but like a buff of some kind. I just don't. He will be Thanos snapped out of the game because he's just not. You don't need a deck build around it right now.
No, you don't. And I'm at 5'8". I think that's maybe a good call, but he does get big though. He does have the chance to get rather large. And I think the thing with Gilgamesh is that I think he's really good for new players in low collection levels because if you think about it, he's a season pass card that I think he's best in Zoo, honestly. Like I think he's great in Zoo, but so is Mockingbird. And I think Mockingbird's way better than Gilgamesh in those decks anyways, but like he is a really good Zoo card. So for players at relatively low collection levels, this is a card that you can slot in and actually climb rank with. Like I think that can't be really slept on. For us who are collection complete, it's a little underwhelming, especially when you have, other cards we'll be talking about soon.
I can't
But
even give him
anyways,
a.
it's not bad.
I can't give it a 3, man. He's a 2.5. The card's just not good. He's one of the worst cards that have come out in some time. Like it's the problem is he can get big, but it's on turn 6. So it's like, what you're giving up so much. The fact that people have the audacity to crap on Sasquatch when something like Gilgamesh comes out next, it's crazy to me. I played him a lot, and I get it. I can show highlights if I wanted to. I can show highlights where he looked good, right? But there's way more times where I had to force myself to play him. Like I was like, I need the video. I have to play him here. He's the worst play line here out of all my options. Or I could do X, Y, Z or cut him from the deck, right? I think that's the ultimate problem with him as a card. And I'm telling you, Alex, not to speak too much, but moving forward, every time we get an S tier season pass card, I'm not even going to look at the next month. I'm just going to give it like a 2. Like whenever we get a really good card, we get a mediocre one like right after that.
Man, hungover, partially inebriated, angry cozy is so funny. Like you're pulling no punches today, man. Oh my god.
I just can't love
Gilgamesh is a puncher and you're punching Gilgamesh back.
I just can't love him. I feel like we're trying to, but he's just not needed. He's just not that great. I think the good news is, guys, I think he'll be buffed.
Yeah, he's probably going to a 5.8. I'm mad. Especially as a season pass card, he's actually only running 8% of the meta. That's really low for a season pass card. That's like people testing it. And that's with an event where people were only allowed to deck build with Gilgamesh trying to pump the card up. And it's still only 8%. 56% win rate, but there is some bot inflation.
There was an event where you had to, they did another Conquerors. They had like a 1-day notice, but there was another Conquerors. And they did it where they had to have Gilgamesh in the deck, guys. And I think the winner was a Hella deck. That was it played Hella. And Gilgamesh was just in it. Like, and that I think defines Gilgamesh.
Yeah, the fact that like he was literally just along for the ride. He was like the guy, like he's the backup quarterback that wins the Super Bowl and gets a ring too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like you could put Ronan in his spot or whatever, right? Like it just didn't matter. It just that last spot doesn't matter. That's a good comparison, by the way.
Yeah. But I mean, again, he is performing best in zoo-based decks. And outside of that though, like I did some coping and I was like, man, I was brewing Gilgamesh decks with Darkhawk and stuff. I was trying to come up with like this Eternals shell. I was like, I remember I was on stream, I was like, how do I make this deck better? And everyone's like, cut Gilgamesh.
You're like, damn, but I can't. It's the name of the video. Yeah.
I'm like, shit, my video tomorrow won't make sense if Gilgamesh isn't.
It's gonna be. In fact, wait, didn't you didn't you do Thena first? In fact, like your usual like new card release, you did Thena before Gilgamesh this time around, right?
Yeah, because I was
smart.
I was trying to catch like yeah, I could not get proper good videos. Like it was like, man, this card's kind of sus. Like I don't know what it was. I'll tell you what it was. The reason why usually I do the season pass card first, I switched it because I had them in the same deck.
Yeah, same. I did too.
I had them in the same deck. And all the games that were hype were just Thena carrying.
Bro, that was like, me to a T. Okay, so like my list I released, right, was a zoo-based list that built up points automatically. Like you didn't need anything to get them going for Gilgamesh, Sunspot, Ant-Man, Hawkeye. These are great cards. Kitty Pryde, right? But then when you have Kitty Pryde, you naturally have Angela. And now you have the new crate. We'll get to her, right? And Thena was just winning every game for me. And I was like, Gilgamesh is doing nothing, like absolutely nothing in this build. I had Sasquatch in there. I even cut Mockingbird to make it work. But like, yeah, and even in this build, Pro X and Cannonball is probably just better than most of these too. Like it's so wild. It's true because Pro X loves cards that can build power later, right? Yeah. And so like it just worked in that list as well. It was super fun though playing Kazar again, but I knew it was doomed when I had to cut Shauna. I was like, all right, Zoo's. Shauna can't even work in a zoo, list that's begging for her.
No, I know. Shauna's a damn shame. Like the card really is lost its identity. Like if it can't make it in these types of decks, it ain't gonna make it anywhere. And perhaps like, I mean, they're trying to give Zoo some options. Like, I mean, Mockingbird's a great Zoo card. And Gilgamesh honestly is still good, but I think we moved to Thena now because I think at the end of the day, we've made our kind of voices heard on Gilgamesh. Definitely Gilgamid. And that's
Gilgamesh is a mess is what I put. I will say on Shauna real quick, and it could be broken. Maybe put it at a 4. I don't know. But if she played the cards, immediately she just works with the builds that she's already in. Like Mockingbird and Sasquatch immediately work with her, and Mysterio already does that. So like, why is it a big deal? She did it too.
She has the add. She adds them, right?
Yeah. If she played them, I think she has a shot, and she's taking up more board space. In fact, like, why aren't we doing that? I don't know. Too many words in the game.
Yeah, that's a bit of an inconsistency that's been kind of common in Snap, where it's like the language is kind of weird, then some cards activate off language, and it's like, yeah,
No,
that could probably use a consistency buff.
I love when we didn't even talk about Thanos, but whatever. I love that they changed Thanos in the Reality Stone. They're like, we changed the location to transform the location. I'm like, great. What,
Yeah,
what does that do?
we're doing stuff. I'm glad
Word.
the question that no one asked for. Why
Yeah.
aren't we transforming locations?
Yeah, we changed the Power Stone to give him +10 power to gain +10. It's the same. It's the same thing. But Thena. Now, Thena is the definition of a card. If you go back and listen, bro, go back and listen to it. Talked myself out of it. I started at like almost a 5. Remember, I was like, dude, she's going to be so good, so cracked, so awesome. And then we were both like, well, how many 2s can we actually play? How many times? It doesn't matter. And we did nail it. We said it would be an S tier card in the Kitty Pride build. And lo and behold, that's kind of all you need.
Yeah, no, literally, like she's not really being played anywhere else though. But anything with Kitty Pride, Angela, Elsa, like that whole package,
Must
Thena
be.
is ridiculous in, like absolutely ridiculous to the point that I'm scared it's gonna get nerfed. Oh man, it's so good. It's running 25% of the meta right now, nearly a 60% win rate, and that's of course we're still in the first week or so, so we still have some bot inflation. But like, it's crazy. Just the meta share alone tells you what you want. Gilgamesh at what, 8%? Thena at 3 times more at 25%. Like, tell me who loves what more. Like, obviously, Thena's the queen of this month.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I immediately said she could go to a 2-0. And honestly, I think it's not even a big deal. Like, it would hurt a little bit, but like, it's still like fine, I guess. I think what I'm like, we were like, well, she only works in these couple builds. Like, that's just stupid to say. Because then we're like, Darkhawk, he only works with Rock Slide and Core. It's like, yeah, but that's what works. Like, that's, at the end of the day, that's all you need, right? And what's great is it's a low-cost build. So I like it even better. Like, Annihilus has Hood, Sentry, Annihilus. 1, 4, and 5. Thena really only needs a 2, 2, 1. And that's awesome. That's your core base build on a lot of different deck builds, right? That you can go into with Thena. Talk about just a feeling. Just a great card to play. She just felt great.
More than a feeling.
More than a... Yeah, bro, you know what I loved about her is that you could play her in the same turn with a card and gain power.
Yeah.
I
That's
loved
huge,
that.
actually.
Loved that.
Yeah, this card's so strong. It's so good. And like it was, you know what, I will say though, there are times where I'm holding myself back a little bit. Like I have a third card I could play and I don't. And because I want that 3 power in Thena. So I do think that like the condition is appropriate. I think it is a challenge and it does prevent it from being universally playable across all different shells. Because like compared to like a Hope Summers, you could put Hope Summers anywhere. Right? That card is just god tier. Thena, you can't do that. Like you can't really put her anywhere, but she is excessively competitive in that Kitty Pride package. Just the same way, like a good example of this is like, Cannonball without Pro X is just Stegron, basically, right? But when you match them together, suddenly they're oppressive. Thena in those not even bounce does do it pretty good too, but sometimes bounce wants more than 2 cards. But like Thena Kitty Pride is all you need, and it's ridiculous how much power it puts out.
I oftentimes had a above 7 power Thena, oftentimes. And I think
easy.
Like, yeah, it wasn't a big deal. And what's so cool about the way those decks work, guys, if you don't know, is like if you did want to put her and Angela in the same lane, you're gonna win that lane. It's you won that lane. And then you just have counters for the other ones. Like you have a Shang-Chi, you have a couple things that keep you honest in the other lanes. Thena's so good that Circe would be a horrible card. A horrible card to put into a Thena lane, right? Like you're killing a 2 cost that's like better than a 4 cost, right? So end of the day, it's a no-brainer to grab her if you like that kind of archetype. We'll give you the warning now. She might get nerfed, and by might, I have a good feeling she probably will. I don't think they'll hit the +3. There's no way. I do think 2-0, the Angela nerf, would be the first thing they go to.
Yeah, because they make it more comparable to Angela. But to be honest with you, +3 power in Snap has been very consistently overpowered, hasn't it?
Yep.
Like Silver Surfer was
Elsa.
+3. Yeah, Elsa was +3. That's right. Thena +3, and it's incredible. I guess the conditions what kind of made us wary. But the card's remarkable. But I got to tell you, I got to call you out here. For someone who loves variants, you're not going with the spotlight? What the hell are we doing here? It's like one of the nicest spotlights they've released in the last 3 months.
I'll open it probably at the end of the day. I opened 3 and I didn't get her, and I was like, I got to record this video. But yeah, I got to go grab her. It's because it's such a good spotlight, dude. It's so good. Like, So good that I might buy the golden border. I've like only bought one of those for my Pixel Agent Coulson, but I might get it for her. It's that good. But yeah, great card, awesome card. Definitely made up for Gilgamesh mess over there. And
And I don't see Thena not being in competitive like Kitty Pryde, Angela Shells going forward. Like I don't think you're gonna see a meta deck report with a deck like that does not have this card in it. You're always gonna feel like you're missing it if you're playing a Kitty Pryde Shell moving forward.
100%.
I think so. That's why.
And Angela's not a replacement because Angela goes with the deck. Like you can't be like, oh, play Angela. It's like you know, but sure, but no, kind of. What did you give her by the way last week?
I gave her, I believe I came in at 3. So I was definitely low. I think I came in at 3. Maybe no, maybe 4. No, I think you gave her 4. I came in at 3.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in there. I listened back to a bit of it and I was just cracking up because like when they started, I'm like card of the month, and then I just like backed out of that so quickly.
My notes say 3/4, so I was a higher 3, lower 4.
Okay. Awesome, dude. Well, let's. I'm excited about this next topic. I really am. The top 6 tips here to climb. We have a lot of veteran players that listen. We have new players that listen, but it doesn't really matter. I think these are good things to like remind yourself of climbing, whether you're trying to get up to infinite, Red Alex, for the first time, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, or just like, beyond that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to be discussing is we actually have like a top 10. We don't usually have to always go in a top 10 format, but we got 10 here, and I think that it's important because there's a lot of resources that get gated behind your rank, right? At rank 90, you get the gold and stuff like that. And I think that's a thing for a lot of people. They want to get those resources, especially for free to play. So I think it's a good idea to kind of refresh ourselves with some best practices towards getting to infinite. It's also worth noting that if you're the kind of player that's never reached infinite, just try to take these into consideration to help improve your game, but also don't stress out. You're playing a game at the end of the day, have some fun. And the one thing I will say is once you start getting towards infinite and you start unlocking kind of the potential of your gameplay, you'll find it easier and easier each season. And it's mainly because of some of these tips are very experience focused. So let's hope that these help you kind of on your climb throughout this season. Number 10, we're going to go in reverse order here. Cozy, this is an interesting one. Number 10, accept variance and never play tilted. And variance meaning that sometimes, if you start a new deck or you're trying to play something and you lose 5 games in a row, don't tilt out because that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbles, as they say. You just might win the next 5 as well. So try not to get tilted and just accept variance when it comes sometimes.
Of course, absolutely. I learned that in sports, man. Like tennis, and like I can't tell you how many times I would beat somebody better than me at tennis because they would lose it whenever they would like miss a couple points. And it's all about like you got to go with the strides and you got to keep just playing your game. And crap's gonna happen. But you got to get through it and keep playing. I like it.
Absolutely. Number 9, and this is kind of a funny one, but it's fleece bots. Because during the ranking process, you are going to get some bots. You'll see Ronald with the Shang-Chi avatar who plays Nakia on turn 4. And you're like, okay, this is an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity here. And I've even been in the position, I don't recommend this all the time, but like I get pretty confident in determining when I'm playing against the bot. And I will like even skip my turn 5 to give up initiative on purpose so that they like snap on me so that I can fleece them on turn 6. But when you identify a bot, right, it's notable that you can usually get a couple extra cubes. They do cheat like retreat all the time too, which is kind of annoying. But if you are looking to rank up when you're playing against the bot, it does represent an opportunity to perhaps get some disproportionate amount of cubes.
Yeah, like if I see a Sam with like a Colossus, I'm just snapping like right away. I'm like, it's some people disguise themselves as bots, so like have at it. But
that's a nice meta play too. I like that.
Yeah. It is kind of fun. Like, cheeky, very cheeky. But yeah, got to take advantage of the bots. That's what a lot of the best players do.
Yeah, because of us now, there's going to be a lot of Ronalds with the Shang-Chi variant out there. Shang-Chi avatar just feasting on people thinking they're bots. Number 8 is be creative with your deck building, your playstyle, and the splash cards, meaning what you add to your deck. I think that when you're trying to rank up, and even in upper ladder, it's the splash cards. It's the things that you add to your deck to catch your opponent by surprise that steals cubes, right? A great example of this, one of my most successful decks last season was running Quake. Just because Quake just flips the board state in a way that would like often disproportionately help me versus my opponent. Legion's a great example of this. It's funny because like you almost want to cut cards like this out, but if you add these splashes, take a meta deck, and if you're like, oh, I'm missing a card or two, add something sexy, man. Add a Quake in there. See what happens. And I tell you, those kind of creative moments will help you gain rank.
Yeah, for sure. And on that, it's like we've tried to do segments like this. I don't know why like There are segments we want to talk about, and they don't get maybe the volume we think they would, and it blows my mind because I think they're some of the most important ones. And one of them is like the top cube stealing cards. It's something we've tried before in a thumbnail and stuff. People don't click on it, don't get it because it's so damn important. What do you want to listen to at that point? Because things like the Legions, the Quakes, knowing the little ones, that if you just put that one card in your deck, you significantly increase. And every deck has 2 flex at least. Like you can get rid of one or the other unless it's a very specific build. Even in like a Mr. Negative, put in a different card that would kind of work in that build than the typical Null and Arnim Zola. So it's one of my favorite things that I recommend. Net deck away, it's part of the game, but add in some splash, especially the cube changers, not like a saber tooth, but something that can actually, you know, flip the game.
An example of this was I was in a Conquest match where I was playing someone a deck that like just looked like, I don't know. In turn 6, they played a Killmonger. I'm like, where the hell did that Killmonger come from? It made no sense. It was not a destroy deck. They didn't have a Nova on the board. It's like they just teched in a Killmonger because they're like, oh, maybe Gilgamesh is how people are playing Zoo. Yeah. And it smoked me, right? I was like, okay, well, you got that from me. Number 7 is do the math and plan your turns. This is something that I think is kind of funny. You know, and Marvel Snap is very reactive to some degree, but I think being proactive in the way you approach the board state's very helpful. Thena plays well like this. You know, planning where you're going to place your Angela versus your Thena. Are they maybe going to be going Pro X? So I think planning your turns in advance can be very helpful, and legitimately doing the math based on what you believe you can put up power potential wise is very helpful, especially in some of the later tips where it involves kind of having an understanding of how much power your opponent might be putting out conversely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to sometimes just go F it and click the end turn button. But yeah, a little bit of planning, location planning, math planning, super important.
It's funny that you mentioned location planning because that's actually number 6. Locations are important and you have to consider them with every single turn. Marvel Snap has 3 locations that reveal over the course of a game, every single game. You also have locations that can get added in, like flooded locations and limbos and stuff like that. And they are so vitally important. We often fixate very much on the cards of Marvel Snap, but the locations themselves have a tremendous impact on the game. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, you know, featured in hot locations can be somewhat cringy sometimes. But honestly, at the end of the day, they are incredibly important. And just like the last point, plan your turns. Plan for how you're going to utilize locations because they're extremely important. It's one of the most slept on elements of your game plan.
And like it'll take time, and a lot of you guys are already here, but like immediately knowing what locations favor you over your opponent, vice versa, or a neutral split. And that way you can go really heavy on maybe the neutral. You abandon the one that's going to help them out the most, and then you can put in lighter work, right? Maybe your B team on a location that, you know, is going to favor you a ton, an ongoing location with Blue Marvel, whatever.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that like if something reveals like an Onslaught Citadel and they snap and you don't have an Enchantress or Rogue, it's probably a good time to retreat. If there's a Camartage and they snap and you don't have a Cosmo, maybe it's a good time to retreat, right? They're often snapping for a reason, not just because they're, you know, drunk after being a reverend at a wedding. They're probably snapping because they have an advantage, right? So it's important that you consider those moments, and locations can be a major factor in that decision making. Number 5, we have the growth mindset approach of Marvel Snap, which means to learn from every match. Cozy, I think it's important that after every single match, you learn from our mistakes.
Yes, learning from mistakes. I can't tell you how many mistakes I still make. And I've been playing this game every day for, you know, 2+ years. And there's the common ones like, you know, Shadow King in your Mysterio. Like stuff that's like a one-off that you kind of add to the list of like, oh boy. But also just like the little things. Play order, turn order, playing, you know, something as simple as playing a Kitty Pryde. If you have a Blue Marvel on the board, it's turn 6. You're playing Gilgamesh because you're drunk. You play Kitty Pryde before Gilgamesh. You have one more card that boosts up the Gilgamesh. Like, there's little things that really fix up, you know?
And I think that, like, learning from every single game, it also takes the sting away from losing. Like, something I do is I always joke about on stream. I say I never retreat 2Q games because I want to just see them play out, especially if someone's playing an innovative deck. Like if someone's been creative and they're playing a brew, I don't want to leave. I want to see how they play their deck out. I want to see what's this finisher. I want to see, you know, what we're playing into. And I think that like when I see something really innovative, it sparks ideas in my head. It helps me learn. And I think that, you know, when you approach that growth mindset of like, you know what, even if I lose, I've learned something from that game. It helps you to kind of progress your gameplay forward. And I think that's huge. And it honestly helps you de-tilt if you take every game as a lesson. Number 4 is one of the most obvious ones and one of the ones that is often said so often, But it's so much more complicated than just saying knowing when to snap. It is legitimately one of the absolute number one skills of Marvel Snap, knowing when you're at an advantage, knowing when you are to snap. But at the same time, Cozy, it can also bite you in the rear sometimes when you snap a little early and then they flip the board state.
Yeah, for sure. It's the most vital skill you can learn. You know, even in my videos, if I realize I made the mistake, I'll be like, guys, hey, if you're me, you should have snapped on 5 because we had a much better chance to win there. Again, it's like poker. When the odds go into your favor, you want to snap before that. You know, you want to get there before you do the flip. Before you do the reveal, you have to go ahead and get the stakes up. It's scary. It'll bite you in the butt, but you'll get better at it the more you do it.
Yeah, and I know that's like a much more general one, but we're going to be talking more about snapping upcoming because number 3 is knowing when to retreat, especially when we get into high stake turns. What I mean by that is oftentimes with retreating, you might be conserving a cube or two, but you might have turns where, you know, you've snapped and then they snapped back. And you might have a cube go from like 1 to 4 or 2 to 8. These massive swings in stakes. Those are the types of retreats that often matter the most, especially when you've initiated the snap, because you get to retreat in response to their snap, right? Knowing when to retreat's huge, because so many games of snap can be determined based off of the most minute and power levels, okay? I've lost games by 1 point, whether it be ties and stuff like that. We've all experienced that. And you can lose 8 cube games like that. And you might be playing for 2 hours, and you might only gain net 8 cubes. To lose an 8 cuber like that just because, you know, you were too scared to hit the retreat button, that can be detrimental.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times someone's playing a deck built around Kitty Pryde, and Sokovia is the second location. Discards, you know, Kitty Pryde from your hand. I don't know, whatever. Bad example, but you get what I'm saying here. And you'd rather not waste 10 seconds to requeue and retreat, but then instead you play the whole match and you lose, you know, 4 cubes. You've wasted so much time at that point, and you lost the cube equity when you know what your deck does well. So you got to get out of there when it's just not obvious.
Yeah, and one of the hardest things to do in Snap, and I totally understand why people have a hard time with this, is when you're in a 4 cube locked position and we're going to 8. People have a hard time retreating from a 4 cube game.
Oh, yeah.
I totally understand it. It's hard emotionally to be like, oh, I'm giving up 4 cubes on the retreat. But you'd literally double your losses if you just feed into an 8 cuber, right? You got to really try to say, you know what? I got to give up these 4 because losing 8's even worse, right? So I know that can be very difficult, but making those decisions can often be the best thing you can do. We're at number 2, Cozy. It's master the meta, which means knowing your opponent's plays, knowing the risks and when they are snapping, and just generally knowing the meta and what you're against, because this is the thing that I think comes with experience. And it's second to only the number 1 skill that I think we need, but it's worth noting that this comes with experience. As you play Marvel Snap, we joke about it in the past, Cozy. We say, you know, if I'm playing against Cozy in Conquest, and he plays a Quinjet against me, right away I'm like, okay, I'm thinking he's playing Loki. I just need 1 card to determine what the rest of that playstyle might be, right? He plays a Deadpool. I know what's up, right? He plays a Kitty Pryde. I know that the range of archetypes I'm against. Knowing the meta and mastering the meta helps you to make informed decisions, especially when they're snapping against you, because you know, okay, hold on, you know, they're playing a on reveal type deck. I can't get rid of the Wong. I don't have Magneto or Rogue. I don't have Cosmo. If they're snapping because they have their combo pieces, I'm in trouble. So I think that mastering the meta and understanding what you could be potentially against is a huge skill for getting to Infinite.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. New card releases, hot locations, take advantage, guys. When you know Thena's everywhere, play Shadow King, man. I see people do Thena with a Shadow King. It's like, you don't need to do both all the time, but if you don't have the new card especially, it's going to frustrate people, but if they're playing the new card, and I hate it, you might as well counter, and you're definitely going to profit off it.
Absolutely, right? That's 100% for sure correct, right? If you know Gilgamesh is coming out and everyone's playing Zoo, splash that Killmonger in like we talked about prior. And the number 1 tip for getting to Infinite is mastering your deck. Specifically, coming back to number 4, which was knowing when to snap, master the snap cadence of a particular deck. When you understand that you have an advantage, okay, master the, you know, do you play Thena or do you play Angela if you have them on turn 2? Which one? The actual card order can be very important, but most importantly, your snap cadence. Understanding when you are advantaged. That is huge, right? If you're playing a Athena-based deck and you're holding Kitty Pryde, Angela, Athena, hell yeah, you snap. You basically have everything you need right there to win the game already, right? And that might come with experience, but at the end of the day, mastering your deck and not, again, number 10, accepting variance. Don't just give in and say, oh, I lost the first 3 games with this deck. This deck sucks. I'm out. No. put in the 40 games and master the deck.
Yeah, like any game too, like Overwatch, have a main deck, have a side deck, and have one that you can have three, right? So your comfort deck, the one you climb probably the best with. You have like an experimental one that you can go and play with, but you have one that you can go back to. Like you can have a couple in there. That way you don't have like repetition. Like I see people that I don't want to just play Patriots. Like, yeah, no problem. Like that's your good deck. Have a couple fun ones. Have your crazy deck that you just want to have a good time and go between the three.
That's absolutely a fantastic point. Like in Cozy's example, for instance, Cozy's main deck is going to be something like Surprise Ultron, and his side deck will be Arrow. The mailbag question number 1, Matthias asking us, what deck do you find most challenging to play? And what deck do you find most rewarding to play?
Oh, I'll let you go first.
Okay, so for me, most challenging, I find bounce to be challenging to the point where like I don't even like playing bounce that much. I'm like, man, do I really want to play like this? Like it's so like you have to plan ahead. You got to use all those principles we just talked about before. Bounce I think can be very challenging but very rewarding. For me, the deck I always turn to at the end of the day, it's always Silver Surfer. Like if I'm just playing by myself, I have so many splits of Silver Surfer. I just like the play style. It's really fun. I feel like there's so many 3-drops that I can change the flavor of the deck by just changing a couple cards all the time. I put in Red Guardian. It feels totally different when I put in Rogue or when I put in Gladiator or something like that, right? So for me, I love playing Silver Surfer. And it's a shame because I used to be more of a Shinnok guy, but Shinnok's kind of fallen off a bit. But yeah, Silver Surfer, I can't get enough of.
Yeah, move decks, the worst by far. Even if I think I'm good at them, I play somebody who is good at it. I'm like, yeah, I'm horrible. And then Sarah decks will always be most rewarding. Counter decks, love that. Surfer has a bit of that, right? Like where you have like the Rogue and the Killmonger. Sarah, I just love cheap cards that have a big explosion behind it.
Yeah, I tend to like decks with very straightforward game plans. That's why I like Darkhawk. Like, just disrupt the hell out of them, right? I've been playing Grandmaster in Darkhawk too. Play Korg, Grandmaster Korg, play Rock Slide. Just pump the rock full of decks. Like, the next question comes from Unknown 2059. I've been playing since a little bit before Surfer came out, and while still I love the game, I still get every season pass card. I'm getting way burnt out. I stress too much about getting to Infinite each season, and I'm not having the same fun as before. And I'm really getting bored. It's really the same thing over and over. Is there a way to get that spark back? Or should I just put the game down for a while?
Put the game down. Not even question. Like, I don't even have to think about this. I'm not your magic genie. You know, I don't think we are to say, like, this is what you need to do. Stop forcing yourself to have fun. If you're not having fun, take a break. Like, I think that's, honestly, a lot of the communities, like, just, like, listen to that. Like, it's okay to step away. The cool thing about Snap is it's not, I don't want to compare it to, like, Hearthstone. I think they're actually doing better in this, maybe. But you can come back and you're not screwed. There are old cards get buffed. New metas are every week. You can take 6 months off the game and come back and you're going to be fine for the most part. You're going to have some lifting to do, right? But if you look back at the last 3 months of cards, there's probably 2 you really need, right? To really have a good chance. And even then you don't. So I absolutely go play something that gives you fun. Come back. Take even a season off. Take a season off. Come back when the new Deadpool Diner comes. But absolutely, if you're forcing yourself to have a good time, is this too blunt? I don't know. I feel like this is with anything in life, even not Snap. What are you
no,
thinking?
Dude, you're right.
Okay.
No, I'm 100% with you. It's funny because like I think that listen, Snap's been out for a while, and it's been an incredible experience. It's just like with anything though, you start to get burnt out a little bit, and I've actually had people ask me like, Alex, like, how do you play the game for 15 hours straight, or how do you do that on stream? You play so long. Well, it's because I actually love it and I'm not burnt out on it. I actually do thoroughly enjoy playing the game. I get burnt out on some of the smaller things, right? Like, you know, just to get a little frustrated with some things here and there, but the core game is still a phenomenal game. It's still the best card game out there. But I think Cozy's advice is actually true. There's nothing wrong with putting it down and resting a little bit. I think the first step to that is like, just do the missions, do the daily missions. Don't stress yourself out, play some conquest. Don't worry about your rank. From there, though, it's worth noting that I think that Second Dinner could do a better job of helping reduce the burnout of, say, dropping cards more frequently to Series 4 and 3, because it helps with that catch-up mechanic, right?
Yeah, I don't. League of Legends has been out how long? Like, a game is fun.
True.
If you're gonna have fun, play a game for fun. Play a game for fun. It's not. I'm sorry. I don't think it's on Second Dinner. Like, we try to put it on them. It's on you. Like, go have fun. Games, guys, are for fun. Play games for fun. You know, if you want to keep up with it, listen to us. Awesome. Have fun at the Snapchat. But at the end of the day, like, I think I'm passionate about this because it's like, stop forcing yourself to do something and just, this is supposed to be your release from life, right? And if you're gaming and you're forcing yourself, and that question stated like 3 different things that were like, okay, well, you're not enjoying it as much. No big deal. Not a problem. People quit League every day. People quit RuneScape, World of Warcraft. If you burn out on something and you're forced, you're just not gonna have a good time. There's a lot of ththings to do out there. And yes, it's the developers that want to continue. They need to do better to continue to give you reasons to play. And they're obviously very like fixed on the core gameplay. And if that's boring right now, take a step back.
Yeah, very fair advice. And our last question today comes from Fort Misery Gaming. And this is in response to the sheer amount of Jim Carrey discussion we had last week. How do you guys miss Dumb and Dumber?
Oh my God. Such a good one. Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize publicly for that.
Yeah, no, actually, I gotta watch Dumb and Dumber again. I hadn't thought of that. I completely forgot. Now, that movie is like, I saw people talking about like Larry the Cable Guy in the comments. I'm like, that movie was awful, man. That was so bad. That was like a low point for Jim Carrey. But like Dumb and Dumber is so iconic and funny. And like, it's like such just stupid comedy. It's so dumb, but it's beautifully dumb.
Our parakeets' heads are falling off. Yeah, dude, there's a million quotable where you're saying there's a chance. I mean, I probably say lines from that movie on a like weekly basis. I don't know how I forgot it.
I need to get the Jim Carrey Dumb and Dumber haircut. Like he had like just like the bowl cut, right? Kind of thing.
It's a good look. It's a good look.
It's a damn good look. And I have to shout out the comment section as well, saying Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which I've never seen, is apparently universally acclaimed for a Jim Carrey performance. So maybe that's next on the list.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good? Wait, hold on. Cozy might have a differing opinion here.
No, I
gotta tap into this angry Cozy.
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. I don't know if it was like my favorite Jim Carrey movie, but I did. I forgot that one too.
Yeah, is it better than the one I just watched? I can't remember the name of.
No, for me, not even close. But yeah, it's
Truman
good.
Show's better still?
Yeah. I said Truman Show's like my favorite movie of all time almost. So yeah, definitely not even close to that one for me. But yeah.
All right, well, the Jim Carrey discussions continue perhaps next week. And until then, guys, thank you so much for all your support. We truly appreciate it, Cozy and I. And we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.